All right, so get this right. You're listening to some new music. You're really feeling it, getting those chills, that emotional rush. Music does that, right? But then you find out AI wrote the whole thing, composed it. Like artificial intelligence, does that totally change the experience? I mean, how does that make you feel? That's exactly what we're diving into today. This article we found, it tackles that very question. Like, how is AI shaking things up in the music world, and is how we think about music keeping up?
It really is mind-blowing when you think about it. The article, points to research where, get this, people were way harder on music when they knew AI was involved. Even if the song was, objectively good, it's almost as if knowing where something comes from just, warpers your whole experience.
Crazy, huh? It's like, are we valuing the creator more than the actual thing they created? It makes you wonder, what are we so afraid of? What parts of being human do we think AI can, take away from music? Is it the emotion? Years of practice, that spark of creativity, is that what we're scared of losing?
Yeah, totally. I think we, put a premium on something being human-made, especially in art. And when tech enters the picture, people freak out. Is it still real art? The article actually compared it to, when cars were invented. People lost their minds. Thought it would ruin the beauty of horse-drawn carriages. It's kind of funny now.
Right. The good old fear of the new.
Yeah.
But think about it. If someone from back then saw a self-driving car today, navigating traffic and all, would they still be so scared? I bet they'd be amazed.
Yeah, you gotta wonder. And the irony is, some AI music is so good, so real-sounding, that we'd never know it wasn't a human, unless someone told us.
So the issue isn't the music itself, but what we believe about it. It's all in our heads. The article even mentions this fear that AI will make human creativity, worthless. But isn't that limiting what AI could do? I mean, how are people actually using AI in music right now? What's the reality?
That's a great point. It's not all doom and gloom. The article actually says AI could make music more creative, especially for people who normally wouldn't, have access. Think about it. You need expensive studios, years of music theory, fancy instruments. Not everyone has that. What if AI could level the playing field?
So instead of taking away from humans, it could give opportunities to people who, don't have the resources or haven't studied music formally. It's like democratizing the whole thing.
Exactly. You've heard of Amper, right? Uses algorithms, looks at tons of music, and then, boom, makes something new based on what you tell it. You pick the mood, how fast you want it, what genre, and it does the rest. Pretty wild, right?
Wait, so I could make a symphony with this thing, even though I, can't read music. Seriously, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But what about people who are musicians, the pros? Are they getting pushed aside?
That's the question, right? But remember, AI can also be a tool. It doesn't have to replace, it can help people do more.
So it's AI and humans, not AI versus humans, like a team.
Exactly. Picture this. You're writing a song, but you're stuck. You have this AI that can suggest, crazy chord progressions you'd never think of, or totally new sounds, even help with the lyrics. Imagine what that would do for a songwriter.
It's like giving them a superpowered toolbox.
Right.
Experimentation on a whole other level.
Right. It's like opening up these sonic landscapes that they'd never even thought of before, breaking free from old habits.
This all makes me wonder, though, about credit, authorship. If AI is doing so much, who gets the credit? The human who uses it? The AI itself? Both?
Yeah.
Gets complicated quickly, huh?
Definitely a big question. There's no easy answer right now. It's like an ethical puzzle that's going to keep getting tougher as AI gets smarter.
It does feel kind of like the Wild West out there right now. Are there any rules being made for all this? Guidelines? Anything?
We're still in the early stages, But yeah, lots of people are talking about this. Musicians, developers, lawyers, you name it. It's going to take everyone working together to figure out, who owns what and who gets paid for it.
So fascinating to see how this could change the whole music industry as we know it. But let's bring it back down to earth for a sec. We keep talking about what AI could do, but what's actually happening. Any cool examples of this human AI team up out there in the world right now?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Tons of inspiring stuff. Have you heard of Taryn Southern? She's a musician who used an AI program to make a whole album, the entire thing.
A whole album? Whoa, what did people think? Was it a hit? Or did people, reject it because of the AI part?
It was actually really popular, surprisingly. It got people talking a lot about what music might become. It showed that AI isn't just a gimmick. It can be a real partner, in creating music that's actually good, that moves you.
That's pretty amazing. It feels like we could be on the edge of some really big changes in music.
I think so, too. But with any powerful tool, we got to be careful, right? Make sure it's used for good. For both the artists and the people listening, it's a lot of responsibility.
It's like we're opening this new door, this new era of music, but we can't just barge in. We have to be smart about it.
Totally. We can't just ignore the bad stuff that could happen. We need to be honest about the good and the bad.
Yeah, you're right. And speaking of the bad, I'm curious to talk more about those concerns. We've just dipped our toes into the water here.
Yeah, let's do it. I think it's important to really look at those concerns and see, like, what the future might hold for all this. Art and tech mixing together like this, it's pretty wild.
All right, let's take a quick break to gather our thoughts and then come back and dive into the deep end.
Welcome back. Before we took that little break, we were getting into this whole idea of AI making music more accessible,
Right.
democratizing it. Let's get into some actual examples, see how that's actually playing out.
Yeah, let's get specific. I like that. Talking about ideas is cool, but seeing it in action, that's when things get real, right?
Totally. So there's some really cool tools out there putting a lot of power in regular people's hands. You mentioned Amper before. Great example. You can make original music even if you've never played an instrument in your life. Pick a style, the mood you're going for, how fast you want it, and it just does it.
Okay, so seriously, like I could make a symphony, even though I don't know the first thing about music theory. That's wild. But real talk, how good does it actually sound? Is it like quality stuff or just kind of gimmicky?
That's the exciting part. AI music is getting so good, so fast. Like, there's AI that can help write lyrics, compose melodies, even mix and master the whole track. It's crazy. And a lot of times, you'd never know a human wasn't behind it.
Okay, now I'm impressed. But for the real musicians out there, the ones who spent years honing their craft, are they just out of job now?
It's a natural question to ask, right? But think of it this way. AI can be a huge asset, even for experienced musicians. It's not about replacing, it's about like augmenting, giving them more power.
So, yeah, not AI versus human, or more like AI and human on the same team.
Exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
imagine you're working on a song, but you hit a wall. You've got this AI that can suggest these crazy chord changes, stuff you'd never think of, new sounds, even help you with the lyrics. It's like having a super creative partner.
It's like giving them superpowers, basically.
Right.
Letting them experiment in ways they never could before.
Exactly. You can explore all these sonic landscapes that you didn't even know existed. Break out of those creative ruts we all get stuck in sometimes.
Makes you think about the whole like authorship thing. If AI is doing so much, who do we say created the song? The person using the AI itself, or both? This is where it gets kind of tricky, huh?
Yeah, that's a big one, and no one's totally figured it out yet. It's an ethical gray area, you
Yeah.
know? And it's just going to get more complicated as AI gets more advanced.
Yeah, it's like a whole new world of questions, a whole new set of rules we got to figure out. Are people working on this? Like, are there any, I don't know, guidelines or something starting to pop up?
It's early days, but yeah, the conversation's happening. You've got musicians, tech people, lawyers, everyone's weighing in. It's going to take everyone to figure this out. Who owns what, who gets paid, all of that.
It really makes you wonder how all this is going to change the whole music industry. It's a lot to wrap your head around. But let's step back from the big picture stuff for a minute. We're talking about what AI could do, what it is doing right now. Any cool examples of this human AI team up out there in the real world?
Oh yeah, tons of cool stuff happening. One that comes to mind is Taryn Southern. She's a musician who used AI to make an entire album, like start to finish.
Wait, a whole album? Wow. And what did people think? Was it a hit? Or did people, freak out because it was made with AI?
People loved it. It really got people talking about the future of music, showed everyone that AI isn't just a gimmick. It can create something real, something that moves you.
That's incredible. Sounds like AI could lead to a whole new wave of creativity,
Yeah.
like a musical renaissance or something.
I think so too. But like with any powerful tool, we got to use it carefully, right? Make sure it benefits everyone, the artists and the listeners. We have to be responsible.
It's like we're standing at the edge of this new era in music, but we can't just jump in blindly, right?
Exactly. We got to acknowledge the good and the bad, be honest about the potential downsides.
You're right. We can't just ignore the tough questions.
Yeah.
And speaking of tough questions, I'm ready to dive into some of those concerns we were talking about. We've only scratched the surface here.
Me too. Let's really unpack those challenges and explore what the future might hold for this wild mix of art and technology.
All right, let's take a quick breather and then come back and tackle those big questions. All right, we're back, ready to wrap up our AI music deep dive. We've talked about what it can do, the cool stuff happening out there.
Right.
But let's face it, there's got to be a downside, right? What worried about with AI in music.
You're right, we can't ignore the tough stuff. And yeah, one of the big ones is jobs. What happens to musicians if AI can write songs, produce them, even perform them? It's a valid question.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. Are we all going to be out of a job? Like, will robots just replace all the artists? That's a bit dystopian, though.
It's not that simple, though. Look, new tech always shakes things up, right? Think about the printing press way back when, or cars replacing horses, even the internet. Jobs were lost, yeah, but new ones popped up too. Whole new industries were born.
So maybe we shouldn't freak out just yet. There's hope.
Exactly. Freaking out doesn't help anyone. We got to be smart about this. Musicians, people in the industry, they got to keep learning new skills. Figure out how to work with AI, not against it. It's about adapting.
So instead of being scared of being replaced, they can use it as a new tool. Kind of exciting when you think of it that way. But what about the heart and soul of music? Can AI really capture that, the emotion, the human stuff?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Even the experts are debating that one. AI is really just a tool, you know? It reflects what we teach it, the data we feed it. So it's our job to guide it, make sure it adds to the human element, not takes away from it.
So it's on us to make sure it's a good thing for music, not a bad thing.
Exactly. We got to be aware of the values baked into these systems, make sure they match what we want music to be in the future. You know, something that still moves us, inspires us.
Which brings us back to that point the article made, that the real challenge isn't telling AI music apart from human music. It's figuring out how to use AI in a good way, a smart way, thinking about all the good and the bad that comes with it.
Totally. We need open minds, you know? But also be critical and keep talking about it. The possibilities, the problems, it all needs to be discussed.
And that's where our listeners come in, right? What do you all think about this whole AI music thing? Exciting? Scary? Tell us.
Yeah, jump in. This conversation needs to happen everywhere. Talk to your friends, post online. Let's all figure this out together.
This deep dive has been mind-blowing. And honestly, we're just getting started. AI is not going anywhere, and music is just the beginning. Who knows what's coming next?
Right. What crazy new sounds are we going to hear? Maybe this is how we get music that's like even better than we can imagine right now. Humans and AI working together.
That's a future I'm down for. But for now, we're out of time. Thanks for joining us on this wild ride into the world of AI music. Keep listening, keep thinking, and we'll see you next time.